is her inconsistency, because I watched her throughout all of competition, and though she was pretty, and she almost came off as an average contestant up until like finals and whatnot, why wasn't she consistently grabbing the spotlight and grabbing everyone's attention? That's the issue, and some people are going to be like, I said before, it's because that was her strategy. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Miss Universe never goes under the radar. Dahil hinahunting sila ng mga ito. At ano nga ba ang mas malalim na eksplanasyon kung bakit takot ang mga ahas sa pusa? Handa ka na bang malaman? Kung oo, ay atin ang tuklasin ang mga sagot sa tanong na ito. Ano naman nating may reputasyon ng mga ahas bilang isa sa pinakadelikado at nakakatakot na hayop sa buong mundo. May mga kumakalat online na may mga species ng ahas na kayang lamunin ng buo ang mga hayop na mas malaki at mas mataba kaysa sa kanila, katulad ng baboy, kalabaw, kabayo at iba pa. Kaya naman, nakakapagtaka na takot sila sa mga pusa. Iiwasan nila ang mga pusa hanggat maaari. Ngunit kung sakaling hindi nila ito matakasan, ay magpapakita sila ng defensive behavior, katulad ng hissing, rearing up, shaking at striking. Takot ang mga ahas sa mga pusa dahil maliliksing kumilos sa mga ito. Agresibo ding umaatake ang mga ito sa pamamagitan ng kanilang mga matutulis na kuko at ngipin.
Ano? Tanda naman.
Monroe's face remains one of the most recognizable in Hollywood. But things were not easy for Monroe, as the actress experienced a great deal of tragedy during her relatively short life. This is the tragic real-life story of Marilyn Monroe. The woman the world recognizes as Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1st, 1926, and baptized Norma Jean Baker. Monroe never knew who her father was. In her unfinished memoir, McKee could no longer afford to care for her, and McKee, now married, took Monroe back to live with her and new husband Doc Gower. Wow. Scheme than an act.
That's nice.
During her childhood, Monroe lived with 12 different families, many of whom were neglectful or abusive. Monroe later said she was sexually assaulted by a lodger in one of the homes and developed a stutter. When the Goddards again could no longer afford to look after Marilyn Monroe, she went to live with Frances Pond on the lower, who provided her with the most loving and stable home she ever had. When Monroe was
Oh
instead, the
my
Goddards
God.
arranged for Monroe to marry their
So
neighbor,
cool.
21-year-old James Doherty, when she
How
turned
can I
16.
touch
In
this?
late 1943, Doherty joined the Merchant
Let's
Marine
see
and
this.
was deployed overseas in 1944.
It gets
Monroe, who
open.
had dropped out of high school, got a job
Come on.
making $20 a week in a defense plant. It
Come
was there that a
together.
photographer discovered her, igniting her Hollywood ambitions. Monroe later
Okay.
said,
The what are
"I
you?
never even received a
Oh,
thank
that's
you from
great.
all those who made millions off a nude
Oh,
Maryland
nice.
photograph."
That's what it does.
She admitted that, despite Fox executives' nerves, her decision to be honest about why she had the photo taken
Look at
ultimately
that.
boosted her career. Hefner's obsession with Monroe
Let's see
continued
if
after
the
her death,
gas
and
does.
his. Although he never once met her, Monroe,
Okay, they're
being the
ready.
most famous athlete in
How
the country,
could get
DiMaggio
them
got his
high?
dinner. Monroe
How that
DiMaggio, however, wanted a housewife and disliked his wife's sex symbol
Okay.
status. These contrasting desires and DiMaggio's possessiveness created
How
tension.
that do that?
Alia Kazan, with whom Monroe later had
Okay, wait.
in September 1954, after DiMaggio watched Monroe shoot the famous subway grate scene for the 7-year itch,
Wait,
the
what
couple
is
had
it?
a fight that turned
Hey, now,
violent.
guys.
Monroe filed
What
and
is that?
later blamed
Oh.
himself for her death.
That
After
was
arranging
now.
Monroe's
Oh
funeral,
my
he had
God.
roses
I
delivered
shut
to
it
her
out. I
crypt,
shut it.
three-time icon.
Oh no,
As a
no,
model,
hey,
Monroe
so
studied
should
her
I
photos
get
and
up? Oh,
constantly asked
yeah.
photographers for
Wait,
feedback.
how will do
For
that?
5 years, she took every job she was offered without complaint.
I
Starting
see
as
it
an
now.
extra in
Wait,
after walking out on her contract, Monroe became the second
let's
woman
see,
ever
wait.
to found her own
Now
production
you
studio.
Oh my!
For greater creative control over her career.
Here.
Despite her determination
Wait,
to make it in Hollywood,
wait,
Marilyn
wait,
Monroe
wait.
suffered from terrible stage fright. 1956's
Okay,
bus stop
let me just
has
have
revealed that Monroe and forgot
Wait,
technical
oh my
requirements like hitting her
Robin,
car and walking out the light or
Robin.
But he also told an interviewer that he never held this against
What
her,
you
and
say
he
you're
knew
gonna
that
say?
she could do scenes in one take because he'd seen them.
Wait a
Full of
minute,
surprise
there,
winning
Dana.
playwright
What's
Arthur Miller
Oh,
felt an
he's a
attraction to the
pretty-
other. They didn't act on it
Chicken?
until 1955.
Pretty.
Monroe had
Oh.
divorced DiMaggio, but Miller was still married at the time. In
Still
1956, during his
inside.
divorce,
There you
Miller
go. I
was
eat
subpoenaed
now.
by her, but she
Okay.
refused. On June 29, 1956, 8 days after his testimony, they married. There were happier times ahead for the couple, but Monroe ultimately needed more emotional support than Miller could give, and the glamour quickly faded for him. At one point, Monroe found a diary entry Miller had written saying he was, quote, disappointed and embarrassed by her. Miller made his feelings on their relationship public in the screenplay of 1961's The Misfits, which he wrote to give Monroe the chance to show her dramatic skills, while also clearly basing her
I'll get out of